Hello YouTube, TurtleLags here, bringing you another AFK Journey video. Today is a very special video because I am going to go over the top 5 meta-defining teams in Supreme Arena for both offense and defense. And what I plan to do is first I will go over the meta archetypes that I've seen and tested in the high ranks of Supreme Arena. Next, we're going to take a look at someone who is actually number 1 in Supreme Arena. He's actually asking for some feedback regarding how to make his defenses even stronger because he's being attacked 15 to 20 times a day. And we will kind of go over his defensive formation, and if we have time, we'll go over another defensive formation for someone who might not have as many units built up. So hopefully that will make the video more relatable to you guys. But I do want to preface all of this by saying that my internet is acting a little spotty right now, so if you see me gray out for a little bit, I apologize in advance. This usually does not happen, but it happens like maybe for a couple seconds every, a day. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. And you guys, by the way, can say hi to YouTube. We are live now on Twitch. You can say hi to your mom, your future self, anyone you want. All right, so let's get underway here. Hi, YouTube. Yes, so the number one, this of course is a no-brainer. The number 1 meta team in Supreme Arena is going to be the Aaron team. It is one of the strongest teams in Supreme Arena, and the reason for that is partly because of this Raging Duel Iron Hoof buff, where when any unit inflicts control effects, their side's rage increases. Triggers once at most every 1 second per unit. The side with the full rage enters a battle fervor. What is battle fervor? It is a stage-wide buff where if you get your meter completely filled up, it increases all your allies' damage by 30%, reduces damage by 30%, and increases haste by 30 until the end of battle. And the rage meter, once it's filled up, the buff will last until the end of battle. So this makes certain teams that run control heavy units such as Arden, such as Carolina, do really well. Now there's several variations to the Aaron archetype. There is, in my case, the Granny Rowan version, where you basically turtle up with Granny and you have Rowan provide energy to not only Granny to ult faster, but also to Carolina and Arden to ult faster as well. And so this is a very offensive team. It can be hit or miss depending on what kind of Aaron team you're facing against. There, of course, is instead of Carolina, you run Scarlita, very potent. You could technically run the Crescent spell if you wanted to. Lately, I've been losing matches, so I've been swapping to a more defensive evocation spell to see if I can outlast the opponent while still being super hyper offensive. That is something that I've tested and has been working quite well. I've personally had more success with the evocation spell compared to the cascade spell, just because RNG sometimes likes to kick me in the ass, and the evocation spell can kind of mitigate the RNG by mitigating 45% of the damage with the very first spirit. So this is kind of the modification I've made in order to make my Aaron team more resilient while being hyper offensive. And then the second team I would recommend is actually a zoo team, a Burial Floorbell zoo team. This is the second meta team that I have gotten probably some of the best results, and this is probably the most underutilized team archetype. And I think a lot of it has has to do with people favoring the Dionel archetype, which is an archetype that I'm working on right now and who I believe Maybe Dog might be running. We'll take a look. But anyways, what makes the Burial and Florbell team so potent is that basically, Florbell at Supreme Plus is able to apply shields to all summons. This includes Florbell's 3 different summons. It includes all 5 of Burial's shadows, assuming there's 5 units spread out on the opponent's side. Damien's Chariot also counts as a summon. So every time a summon is brought into the battlefield, they get a shield, and this allows you to have a lot of units that are very resilient. Now there's several variations to the Burial team comp. I personally like to run this team with Rainier. What I like about running this team with Rainier is that my favorite target to dynamic balance, with Rainier is Burial, because Burial, he's going to jump over to the enemy side anyways, and even if he dies, it doesn't really matter, because usually you'll pick up a KO and then Burial will resummon. So very, very nice kind of strategy there. You also do soften up one of their enemy units, and even if you were to dynamic balance like a Florbell or a Thorin, you still achieve very good results, so long as you can keep Florbell alive by always having at least 1 or 2 units. Usually it'll be Rainier and Burial, or even Thorin, attacking the unit that was dynamic balanced to your side. So that's the second archetype I recommend. The third archetype is some form of Vala. Now, some of you guys, do know the power of Vala, but I would say that the variability of Vala teams that I have seen have been probably the most vast of all the meta teams that I've seen. In my case, what I decided to do was, I decided that I would try to make Vala the star of the team by having some defensive units like Lucius, Corrin, Scarlita, and Haywin. What's nice about Haywin is that with her season skill, she is able to increase the haste and the attack of your highest damage dealing unit, which in this case will be Vala. And you also have a second win con, which is Scarlita, where she is able to yeet enemies off the map. I love running this team with the Star Shard spell, because Star Shard is able to further help with the survivability by decreasing the enemy's attack speed. Also increases the haste of your units, gives them a bit of HP, and most importantly deals true damage for every X amount of ultimates cast on all enemies. And this allows you to basically, okay, Loof, take care, thank you for tuning in, to soften up the units so that Vala can pick up those nice KOs. Yeah. That's my composition, and with the artifact that gives, mana. Yes. Oh, and by the way, guys, I do believe that Rowan will be a better healer than Haywin in this team comp in order to get the 5 faction bonus. However, because I need my Rowan on my Granny, because Granny can't ult fast enough without Rowan. So for this reason, I put Haywin instead, and it has worked quite well. A best team for the Dream Realm boss, it's going to be Odie, Merrily, Coco, Smokey, Rainier dynamic balancing, Odie using the Crescent spell. That's the best team. And then, so that's the third archetype we've talked about, right? Now the fourth archetype is actually the full Mauler team, which I'm not going to save this, but just to kind of give you an example. So you would do something like Shakir, You got Odie, you got Coco, you got Brutus. You could either go Brutus or Entendre. Personally, I like Brutus because he's just sometimes Entendre dies really quick. I don't know why. And then you have Smokey. Now, positioning is very important because you need to have Smokey as far forward as you can without being KO'd. Smokey does have limited healing range, and this is probably not a good stage to run it on. I'm just laying it out there as an example. So this would be a sample team comp, and you would probably run the Star Shard spell or the Confining spell. By the way, I forgot to mention that for the Zoo team, I do run the Confining spell, and it works really well. Smokey, if you got him, yes. So this is another very good team. Well, actually, I would say it's probably the most fair team out of the 5. This team doesn't really go over the top, but what it's really good at is its resiliency with a combination of Brutus holding down the fort, Coco providing some damage mitigation. This is why I believe you need both Shakir and Odie, because you do need at least 2 DPSs to really pick up some crucial KOs. I sent you my free-to-play lineup that works pretty well. Okay, thank you, Zane. And actually, I think it's very important to have some free-to-play lineups. So let's go over some of Zane's recommendations. Oh, actually, before we go over Zane's recommendation, the 5th meta team that I do recommend is a Dionel team. This is a team that I'm almost done. I'm almost finished with. I just need to get some more Temporal Essence and bring Dionel to Supreme Plus. So this would be running the Awakening spell. Or Enlightening spell. And then you have Dionel in the back. And then you have... Usually you would have like Thorin protecting him. So Thorin... Because Dionel is really squishy. And then you have Leica for the buffs. You will have Scarlita.
Here I am.
And then you'll have who's the last one? And someone like Lucius. Something like this I think is very powerful. Oh, actually, no, instead of... So the team I was going to cook up, I'm trying to remember. I think it was actually Lucius. Or no, Corrin. Because Corrin can apply a buff to Dionel as well. Or a shield, rather. So I do like this team comp a lot because because Dionel's so squishy, you have multiple units that are able to protect him. You got Lucius to apply the shields, you got Corrin to apply the shields, you have Scarlita to apply the shields. You do have 2 win cons in Dionel and Scarlita. Now there is another really spicy Dionel team that you could run, which I'm trying to remember who recommended this. It was basically Thorin Nehru. I'm kind of going off of memory here, but yeah, Thorin, Nehru buffing Dionel. Yep. And then you could go Leica. Yeah, so you still get the 3 faction bonus. Leica is very important because improving the attack speed of your Dionel is going to be very helpful. And then you have, and what Nehru brings to the table is, you see that kind of green hovering thing? That is actually Yeah, Niru casts the spell to protect an ally from a fatal blow, turning him into a spirit and restoring their HP to 45% of their max HP. Spirit cannot be attacked, will be defeated. Let's see. Oh yeah, cast the ultimate to the nearest ally without consuming energy when a battle starts, prioritizing the ally behind him. So this is basically a buff that makes it so that when Dionel dies, he can protects the ally from a fatal blow. Yeah, so that's essentially what it does. And this makes it so that if they're trying to use a Vala to snipe Dionel, then it's not going to go very well because Niru will protect. So I do think this is actually this was recommended to me by someone on server 1 or 2, very powerful meta team. So I'm wondering if I should bring Vala to Supreme and invest in her EX for Supreme Arena comps. Also, I could bring Sylvina up to Supreme. Is that fireworks? Yeah, Scuba, I do think Vala is very worth investing in. Sylvina could be worth investing in too, but I think Sylvina needs very high investment in order to be successful in disrupting the back line. Because you don't want to bring a wet noodle to the back. Your Sylvina needs to at least be an EX10, and I'm not sure if that's worth the resources. It's probably a storm outside. Okay. Yeah, so I would say, just to be on the safe side, just build Vala. Sylvina, up to your discretion. We'll probably need to see how your other crew members are, but if you're not a whale, I would probably not build Sylvina. A wet noodle, yeah. Okay, so now let's go over some free-to-play options that Zane recommended, and then we'll go over an account and see if we can make his defenses even stronger. Yes, thanks. I'll go with Vala first. Hey, Trisua, good to see you. Welcome. I'm pairing my Sylvina with Doran. Most of the time, that's good enough if you have high Doran. I'm a dolphin. Okay, good to know. Good to know. See, I'm a whale and I don't even have Sylvina. Well, I have Sylvina Supreme Plus, but I choose not to bring her because when Sylvina dies, it just feels so bad. All right. So let's go ahead and show you. Okay, so this is what Zane is. So this is Zane's free-to-play account, you said, right? Well, this is not free-to-play, but low spender. Okay, so Doran, Scarlita, Sylvina, Smokey, Cessia, running a confining spell. And then, yep, this, I can get behind this, yes. And on the Cascade spell, so hyper offensive. Or Crescent spell, I'm sorry, not Cascade. Ooh, and then this is interesting. So you got a Florbell, Reese. Okay, so this is just like creating chaos, I guess. It's almost free to play. I bought the OG pass. Okay, so this is kind of an example of what free to play builds look like. Thank you so much for sharing that, Zane. And then let's go ahead and go over Dog's formation. So Dog is is currently number 1 in his district, and he's holding down defenses. So here for team, this is map 3. That's a Vala right here. So we have Thorn, Carolina, Vala. I'm trying to... who is that? Corin. Here's Corin. Oh, no, that's not Dionel. Dog, who is that unit in the back? Okay, and then we've got... Oh, Temesia? Oh, okay. Ah, okay, the Tunisia to counter Vala. Okay. Got Corn, Vala. Okay. Tunisia. Interesting. So you have a 3 Light Bearer, 2 Graveborn team running the Light Heal spell. So the purpose of this team, you got Corn to shield, you got Tunisia to disrupt and physical defense shred. You have Vala to snipe the enemy units, and you have Carolina to plop the ice and do splash damage. It's an interesting team. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other teams. So, Aaron team. Yep, this is pretty good with the confining spell. I think this... Oh, interesting. Okay, so... Oh, yeah. So this is a the Scarlita variant. Very powerful. It might be the strongest team you can bring. And then for an Aaron team. And then here we've got a Mauler team. Brutus, Smokey, Odie, Dionel, and Coco. Okay. So I think just my only concern is if Vala picks up Dionel. Are they P3 or P2? It's hard to tell from the screenshots. It has Dionel surprise factor. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense. That's true. Dionel's hidden so opponent doesn't know. That makes sense. I mean, you can camouflage as a Mauler team and then, yeah, just like wreak havoc. I think the only giveaway is the awakening spell, but I think that's still okay though. Yeah. So what would I change? I think the second team is very solid, and then yeah. Dog, I have a question. Out of these 3 teams, which one is the one that loses on defense the most? Kind of new to the game, 9 days in. I'm trying to learn, but this stuff is quite advanced, but interesting. Yeah, we're going over Supreme Arena, so you have to build 3 different teams, so it's a lot of thinking because there's some units you want to bring to multiple maps, but you can't. The first one? Okay, that makes sense. That's what I... Okay. So if that's the case, what we may want to consider... Actually, Dog, if you don't mind sending me your crew, we can take a look. I truly feel like in order for Dionel to shine, you should maybe like bring a Scarlita to shield him, right? And the shield also counts as a buff, because when you have a Supreme plus Scarlita, you're able to provide multiple buffs, right? You apply a shield, a physical defense buff, and a magic defense buff. And then you have Leica for the attack speed. That I feel like is a very good core, and then it's kind of up to you what kind of tank or healer you want to bring. I have everything except Burial, which I'm working on. I've been Paragon 1 this weekend. Okay, so if that's the case, then what I probably would do, just kind of bringing this down for a moment, is I would probably do something like this. So basically what you would do, or okay, this is what I plan to do. Because I plan to do a Zoo team, an Aaron team, and a Dionel team. So for my Dionel team, what I would basically do is put Dionel in the back, awakening spell, right? Okay. And then I would... Okay, so a light bear. So I'd probably go Lucius. And then Leica.
Are you lost? Follow me.
Scarlita, probably Scarlita.
Here I am.
Scarlita and Rowan. Or Haywin, I guess. Yeah, well, this is what I plan to do anyways. Yeah, and you would have Scarlet, but actually, in your case, are you using Rowan? Oh, you're using you're in the same boat I am. I'm basically using my Rowan with my Granny, so I think a good healer that could complement Dionel quite nicely is Haywin. Haywin will also increase the haste and attack percentage of your highest damage dealer, which in this case will be Dionel. So, and both your Lucius and your Scarlita will keep Dionel protected until Haywin gets her ult off. So I think that would be kind of what I recommend. Alternatively, let me see if you're using Thorin at all. Oh yeah, you're running Thorin on your other team. And it looks to me like you don't have any overlap. Yeah, you don't have any overlap, so you should have access to all these units. So that would be my recommendation. I can go ahead and take a screenshot and send it to you. Ooh. Okay. Looks solid. We'll give it a try. Awesome, awesome. And if that doesn't work, we can try the Niru comp, but that would require you to move Thorin. I think the team that I cooked up, I created it like that because there's no overlap in units. You will have access to all of them while still retaining your other two team compositions. Yeah. So anyways, I think that wraps it up for this video. It's already 28 minutes. Don't want it to be too long. Of course, if you have any questions or if you need Supreme Arena defensive ideas, defense formation ideas, I am more than happy to go over that with you on my Discord channel or live on twitch.tv/turtlelags. I feel like Burial might also work well here instead of Lucius. I think so too. Yes, yes.